Hey
Everyone, thanks for coming. I'd like to call the September 27th meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Please take note of the emergency exits. And if everyone would please stand and sign.
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gary. Mr. Jackson. Snyder.
Here.
Ms. Gendron.
Here.
Ms. Paradis.
She'll be a little bit late.
Okay, Mr. Droz and Mrs. Giller.
Thank you. At this point in the meeting, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent O'Shea, District Report.
Thank you and welcome, everyone. So to start our evening off, I'm going to call up Mrs. Carlo, who has a special guest to announce.
Yes, I am very honored to introduce you to our Student Council President, who also serves as our National Honor Society Vice President, a member of our drama club, our chorus, and just an all-around amazing young woman who is going to share some insight about the beginning of the school year with you at Cohoes High School, among some other things and some accolades. So I'd like to welcome up Ms. Gabby Birchfield-Breckner.
Hello and good evening, education members. My name is Gabby Greco, and I'm a senior at Cohoes High School. I am also Vice President of the Drama Club, Vice President of National Honor Society, and President of Student Council. I'm here today to talk about our first month at Cohoes High School, and let me just say, it has been a crazy one. We've had our first day of classes, our homecoming dance, girls flag football, also known as the Powder Puff, hallway decorating contest, pep rally, and our football, soccer, and volleyball homecoming games this month. On the first day of classes, everybody was so excited to see their friends again and the welcoming faces of our teachers here at Cohoes High School. I'm so happy we have a small number of school, so I'm able to have classes with not only my senior friends, but also with my friends. The homecoming dance. Then, before I knew it, the dance was a week away. It came up very quickly. And as the president of student council, I was in charge of decorating. I knew it was a very tedious task, especially with the start of school. I also had to focus on homework, friendships, auditions for schools, college applications, birthday plans, and passing my driver's test, which is tomorrow. But with our creative students, our amazing advisor, Mr. Petroleum, and my incredible mom, who has talent and drive, 100 people, I swear, it's insane. I knew we could make this a dance we'd never forget. We showed up on Saturday morning, ready to work, and were there about an hour before the dance began. I think it was from 11 to 6. I'm not sure we could have done it without the many helping hands of our students and parents. The highlight of the day was getting surprised with our very talented graduate and friend, Nick Williams. And when, after the dance, me and my friends showed up to Bob's Diner with 3 leftover pizza boxes that we offered to bring home. Next was the Powder Puff game. And even though I'm one of our most athletic students, I was still just as included in the festivities. I even caught the ball and ran 10 yards with it. I might have scored a touchdown if I didn't think my flag was pulled off and stopped running, but it's okay. I won't make that mistake again. The parents were so involved, helping us with our shirts and getting ready for the big day. And even though we lost to the juniors, it will always be one of my favorite memories at Cohoes High School. Afterwards, both classes went to Applebee's together, and while they celebrated the win, we all celebrated the money we raised. And, might I add, had some really good mozzarella sticks. When it came to the hallway decorating contest, my classmates and I were in it to win it. We wanted to make it the best hallway the senior class has ever done. Me and my friends worked until 9 o'clock that night, knowing we'd get the gold. No one saw it coming, but a great group of freshmen had also worked until 9 o'clock that night. For the first time in history, it was a tie between the freshmen and the seniors. Even though I wish we won, I'm so proud of the freshmen' dedication to our school. Next up was the pep rally. This year, with our new student council advisors, I thought it would be much more chaotic than it usually could be. But of course, with Mr. Galarno and Ms. Tomasini, it went perfectly, and I had so much fun. Before, all student council members were called down to the gym to help set up. Not only did the student council come, but also a lot of our friends helped too, including one of my great friends, Farley O'Hara, and I. We made an awesome poster that was too good not to take home. I have it set up in my room. At the rally, we played games, including a whipped cream eating contest, a teacher wrap up that they wrapped up with streamers, yep, a class chant competition, and a fan favorite, musical chairs. We also introduced all of our sports teams, and the choir stood in front of the school to sing the national anthem in our alma mater. Overall, this has been one of my favorite months at our school, and I am so excited for many more to come. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And in a moment, we probably will have some other comments, but while you're standing up there, did you see what it says on the sign? So we want to congratulate you because you performed at a level 6 solo performance along with over 1,000 students, judged by a panel of music educators. And in order to qualify for the All-State Conference, students had to have a score of 98% or better, and you received a perfect score of 100%. So now you're going to be attending and singing at the All-State Conference in Rochester in the winter. So a huge congratulations and best of luck.
Congratulations.
Gavin, this is what school's supposed to be about. So this is so fun to hear you up here and talk about your experience and, firsthand knowledge of all the different events that you tried to not only be a part of, but were managing on the other side of it. So we're really proud of you. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seniors are very lucky to have selected such a strong leader. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you. And now for the next slide.
That's me.
It's you. So you all have a Board of Education draft schedule of district reports in front of you. Preliminary, and there's still some spots to fill in, but I did want to share it with you for feedback. And we are going to have a student or students at each of our meetings to be able to kick off the meeting and share some information. And we're in the process of working through that. And also, these are the major reports because we do have throughout each of the meetings updates from all of us in terms of different items. So next meeting will be the capital project update and then a discussion of the district comprehensive improvement plan. The 25th is not only the meeting that we get to appreciate you, but also we get to hear from the secondary building leadership teams. There was a discussion last year when the presentations were in December, January, that it was a bit late, close to budget presentation. So we did change the timeline of the meetings. And I think next week is the week the plans are being presented to the faculty at faculty meetings. So Then followed by elementary presentations. We discussed a workshop with Lauren Gemmel. That's going to be November 29th. So December 13th, we thought to have an update on family and student supports as we head into the holiday. Currently with Rachel Marceau, we might invite, oh, surprise, Rachel. We might invite some, I knew there was something I wanted to do today. Invite some other people to join you. So the 10th is still open for a report, although esports and junior drama club will be joining us. What we thought in January, we would do a state of the schools with mid-year data review across attendance, discipline, iReady, et cetera, scores, passing rates. And then we start our budget presentations. We've tried to, sometimes those tend to get kind of long. You might recall, we can add some other presentations in there. We will still have the student presentation, but so that's open to discussion. We did try to break them out a little bit more, so we don't have the marathons. We're still looking to see what date works best for our secondary drama presentation. And then right now, May 22nd, and is open for a presentation as well. We only have one meeting in June, so we'll have a lot of celebration and then the district-wide safety plan presentation so that we can do the code as a standalone in July. So thoughts, are there, I know we talked about the mid-year. Would you like to have more of a quarterly data report, ideas, anything that you'd like to say that's missing?
What about guidance? Like K-12
Yep. So,
review built into other ones?
so every year going on, now they do have to present their plan. Our thoughts was because they did do a comprehensive overhaul and overview, that we would present the plan, but not necessarily unless there were any major changes, have to come present again. We could have them come face to face on it every other year basis, as long as there weren't any major changes to it. And if you're like me, when you're driving home or in the middle of the night, you have like a great idea, feel free to reach out. This is still open for discussion. Just wanted to try to frame it a bit more this year.
So I think that, listen to definitely there's points here that all of us were looking for. And as far as like the timeline, I think it makes a lot of sense. Having those budget presentations with a little bit of flexibility, as it works at that time of the year, is going to be important for us. Also, the state of the school piece, the mid-year review, are you thinking that will include information like our state test results, our regents results, things like the big pieces, because I know we're under embargo right now for some information. Is that what you're thinking as far as the mid-year?
I am, as well as updates in attendance, discipline, just and some qualitative information as well. If that's why I said if we find out Rango is lifted, if you would prefer like an update before then, we could do something before then in terms of regions and state test scores and things like that. So we could do it in a couple different places too, and this could focus on this current year. So there is some flexibility in the schedule to do this.
But we will still be receiving more reports from.
You'll be receiving board reports, quarterly, trimesterly board reports, depending on building. and we'll continue when we have data and are able to share data to put it in open news.
I just wanted to like clarify that that wasn't,
No,
you know, supplementing what we were already receiving. Or it is supplementing, it wasn't supplanting what we were already receiving. So we'll still be getting those reports and then
Yeah.
it's just more. Okay, thanks.
that's great. So the next slide talks about committees. And we did have our safety committee meeting on September 25th. And there were 24 members in attendance, including Mayor Keeler, Police Chief Walden, our new BOE safety specialist, Tim Murphy, and then Sue Meredith as a Board of Education member. There was a question that was asked at a previous board meeting, and now we can answer it with a resounding yes. Everyone went around the room and did share how the time change at the elementary did have a significant impact on traffic, and police noted that as well. So to really, we said we think so last time, so this was good. We talked about the Smart Schools Bond Act for a digitalized PA bell system. As we talked before, Dan and Stacy and Jim and PJ had been meeting with had met with three vendors, did decide that one of the vendors, Ronco, was the vendor that we should investigate further. So at the end of August, they went to Scotia Glenville to visit that school that currently uses that system. And so they also, Ronco does do state contract pricing, so that's a good thing for us as well. So the next steps are to bring them on site to, look at all of our buildings, look at our existing system. Then there would be a quote, and then from there, we would be able to start to incorporate it into a Smart Schools Bond Act amendment, which would involve a public hearing at a board meeting. And then Cohoes Police Department will continue presentations at each of our buildings, and probably something in December and January. All the principals had their safety drills well underway, and we're very positive about how students were responding, even when some unique twists were put in the way, such as the closing of an exit, doing something during lunch, so practicing at different times. And we talked about increasing and continuing our communication, something very important, and I did share it out in the message, but we'll also continue to reinforce is, the importance of if you see or hear something, to say something. So any other things to add from the committee members?
I think the main thing that I took from the meeting was that the police department and the liaison for the schools has taken a big hit with John Shanahan retiring. So the police force has to redo and reevaluate who they're going to have as the contact, which is delaying a couple of the presentations that they want to do at the school, that we want them to do at the schools, which was noted by the elementary schools, that Chief Walden didn't think he could have a representative to the schools until February, and that is not acceptable to our elementary schools, I feel. And the elementary schools feel that. So I think that's just what, I understand, the police department took a big hit. They had 3 retirees right within, 3 months, but we're still needing their services. And I think we just still need to be in contact with them continuously, like I know you are, about having, a representative from there be for our schools.
So he did note that that they are definitely at the ready in terms of responses.
Right, no, and there was nothing like that, like no safety issues.
Service. So Lieutenant Shannon was the one that came to our schools and presented at all of our schools. Our timeline last year was November, December, and then one actually got moved up to January. So it was right at the start of the year. So it hasn't been, it won't be too much longer. We are going to work with him to see if we can work on a December, January timeframe. And then our new staff was mentioned, but all of our new staff has had our internal training and will be reinforcing some things at new professional orientation. But yeah, that was noted that the timeframe shifted.
Yeah. And that was just my major takeaway from the whole thing was that they're just, they don't have anybody in the ready to be the support for the school as the liaison. Nothing about safety, nothing about anything like that.
As the presenter.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Did you know, the high school and middle school are still communicating with someone on a regular basis?
Well, and they have the resource officers too, which is they have one of the retirees.
Thank you.
The other thing, though, the major thing is that we can put signs up at the high school for the traffic flow because it is not a public throughway. It's private property. So
Laura will be working with Jim to start those conversations and Laura did ask if we could change the name of a road. That's for the future. So we've set the dates for our upcoming meetings, and those are listed, and you've also all received invitations. An email is going out to staff this week to try to get more members. We have a number of staff members on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. We're light on staff members on technology and wellness. And then what I have for you, this is draft form, but this is a draft of something that I would like to send out to parents and community members, and some of the wording can be tweaked. But just overall, it says, you're not going to read the whole thing, but in an effort to strengthen our community partnerships and provide increased opportunities for public participation, we're extending an invitation to parents and community members to volunteer to serve as a member of one of the following district committees. And then we provided information as to the first meeting date, what the focus of the committee is, although this is subject to some revisions if needed. And then we hope you will consider joining us. If you are interested, please click on the district application to be considered for membership. And I think, or we could just say click on the district link so it didn't sound so scary as having to fill out this huge application. But we do want name, address, email, to know if they do have a child currently enrolled. That would, not that they have to, but that would allow us to know. And then please share why you are interested in joining the committee, knowing that, I mean, I would love to have a resounding response and have to, read through and share, but to know that if we do have to limit a bit, we have this. So again, this is open for feedback. I'd like to get it out very soon because the first CI meeting is October 16th. So any initial feedback, wording of application versus please click on this link or form, just so then it just, because it really isn't this intensive.
Response rate will certainly go up when they say, click here.
Please click here
Mm-hmm.
to be considered. Okay, it says here. Is the first paragraph. I know we talked about this. It's what we're.
No, I think it's a nice invitation, yeah, and I think it's inviting and hopefully it engages more people in a broader sort of circle. Thank you for doing this.
And then we'll be sure, once we have the full committees, then to set the subsequent meetings for the year. So, any other questions or comments on this?
Do you think it makes sense to put who the chairperson is, or, who oversees that committee?
We can.
I mean, we don't have to, this is a conversation.
Oh, it hurts.
Mr. Martinelli?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we know the two that are lacking.
We can add the chairperson. Yeah. Okay. Again. Driving home, I'd like to send this out on Friday. So, I'm just looking like this because
I would like you to send it out on Friday. So I'm happy with it.
I can see everything. Trying the configurations, this one isn't it? Well, it's almost it. We're getting there.
Well, see, look, our new configuration. So, we do have some other things that we want to share that aren't on slides. There was a request for some information in terms of some suspension data. Mr. Martinelli is going to share that, and then I do want to talk about our sixth grade enrollment.
So starting with the high school, so far from the first day of school until today, the high school has had 25 suspensions. In 2022-23, last year at this very time, they had 19. In 21-22 year, they had 26.
You happen to have that information broken out by grade?
I could get that to you.
Thank you.
And for the middle school has had 18 suspensions to date. In 22-23, at this very time, they had 17. And 21-22, there were 6.
And I just want to clarify, that would be students and it's not days, it's students.
That's correct. And it's students, and at the high school, while there's 25 suspensions, one of them is a long-term superintendent hearing suspension.
Could you also let us know if the incidents, are, because oftentimes there's multiple students involved in an incident, and the incident number might not be the same as the suspension number.
So there might be one incident, but three
One incident,
students.
3 suspensions, where it was just one thing that happened.
And then grade levels.
I know that we have made some alterations to our code of conduct and are setting different expectations. Mr. McFarland talked to us about, modeling the behaviors for kids. And I know the high school is definitely trying to implement some new things with their cell phone policy. And I think it would be good for us to have an awareness of how the code of conduct impacts our kids on a daily basis, but also like the overall school climate. It's not necessarily to say that having referrals is a bad thing all the time, because it's improving student behavior and it's setting expectations. So I don't want to misconstrue like the requests for some information for us to have an awareness of, how the things that we're doing by approving the code of conduct and the changes that were made to how that translates into the school building and the overall school environment.
So a few things, that's why we could provide this more often on a quarterly basis, and talk to whether, we will still be sending the information home, and we'll be fine tuning information as well. I think that because the high school and middle school are coming on the 25th, and you did get a precursor on a lot of the, middle school initiatives, we can talk to, high school will be presenting on the 25th, but Pat mentioned is cell phone policy and off and away. And so we have seen some referrals due to that initially, right? Because if someone is refusing, then it would be considered insubordination. And unfortunately, once in a while, it does, get a little, more increased. But typically at the beginning, you will see that when something new is implemented. So we can track some of those things and make sure you see some of those as well. And, typically, some years have been different, but we have more in the beginning and then that trickles off. So we'll be able to keep those discussions going as well.
I think for me, my mind always goes to violence when it goes to suspensions, probably wrong, but are we seeing, I would just like to know, are we seeing more along those lines? Or is it, I'm not saying this clearly. Yeah.
So it's really, without giving number details here, but having looked at it quite a bit, it's all over the map. And so, yes, there's been some fights and sometimes there's drugs and, kids, usually when it rises to the level of a suspension, it's necessary.
But there are insubordination as well, and things like that.
It's not all violent in nature.
No, nope.
So we're finding a lot of, it's September and these are the rules.
Yep.
Let's just remember that.
Yeah, and then we'll continue to track and share and, and right now too, we also don't want to highlight if there's single events because then that, tracks to the person. So, but we will definitely share the data.
I mean, I think our first presenter really gave us an idea of what the culture is, and that's the important thing. But again, for us to just have an understanding of where things are trending, just so that we understand that things are working or they're not working, or we need to make changes or whatever the case is.
I agree. And yeah, let's not forget our first presenter because overall we have such a very positive school climate and culture. And these are our secondary numbers. Our elementary, I believe, have not had suspensions yet this year. So, so also, and hopefully won't have very many, but.
Also, I mean, these are important things for us to talk about. I mean, we had conversations last year. We did have some very extremely violent, incidents. We had some issues where we had to educate about, different drug-related instances where, what's legal, what's not legal, and we've had all these discussions. So I feel like they're all important and it's not, we have to whisper about this one or that one. I understand, like, not trying to identify a particular incident, especially because we've only been in school for a short period of time. And if there's a public awareness of something that happened, obviously you're isolating the student. We certainly can't do that. But I think it is important for us to just have our eye on it.
I think so also because there may be a stigma out there that, we're not doing anything about what's happening. So the more that you talk about it, the more that you make people aware that we are actually addressing the situation, hopefully helps.
So I'm going to talk about sixth grade, but before I do, I also wanted to mention, because it is on the upcoming events, that Tom Rydell is the person who did the cyber safety security presentations at the secondary last year, and he is coming to the elementary, and then we'll continue to reinforce the messages at the secondary level. And as we go through the upcoming events each time, you will see, and these are just, there are many events, but you'll see an increase in different types of events to also invite families in. The strengthening families program that's up there from Abram Lansing. Rachel had spoken about it during her presentation. It's a pilot program at Lansing. We want to see how it goes and then expand it to other schools. There's a limited number of families that can participate. Are we at max yet? So we're at max. So that's good. We'll see, and then we'll continue these two. So I think too, the more we can be working with families and
Mhm.
having them in the schools and also doing outreach. So I think you all have a sixth grade teacher proposal at your table. So this year, both our sixth and our ninth, and we'll be looking at ninth a little more closely in the future, but our numbers increased more than projected, more than expected. And the increase came, right at the end and into the start of the school year. So some good news is we did get families about 6 from charter schools to the
That's
middle
to the
school,
middle school.
to the middle school. We have, and more families and more students are really good news anytime, but we also then need to determine how to address it. So currently, there are 2 teams of sixth grade teachers with 3 core teachers per team. This is a little different than some previous years. The makeup is 1 teacher teaching ELA, 1 teacher teaching math, 1 teacher teaching social studies, and then everyone is teaching science. And then you can see the current class sizes. ELA and math is lower than science and social studies because there are students who attend special class ELA and math. So that brings the section sizes down a bit, but you can still see some sections of 27 in ELA 6. I think we have a couple sections that have 28, a number of sections that have 27. We've had high section numbers in 6th grade before. This is a little higher than times in the past. But we feel that the numbers assist the middle school, that assist us in having an additional teacher in 6th grade. Also in terms of making sure our students are, continuing to achieve high levels of success, and it will also help with some of the behaviors. We don't have as many students together. So the proposal is for 1 new teacher. 1 team would have 4 core teachers. I know this is 6th grade. There was years and years and years that 6th grade did have 4 core teachers. I don't know if any of you remember that as 6th graders. So it would be 1 team having the 4 core. And it would involve a little bit of looking at where would the ENL students be, where would the special class students be. And that would bring the average class size down to 22.5. I mean, of course, higher in some, and we can break it down class by class for the future, but we wanted to have that discussion with you today.
So a realistic timeline on something like this, knowing the difficulties we have hiring, not we, everybody has in the hiring process right now. Is this realistic for this year, or would it be a next year scenario?
So actually, next year, the 6th grade projection is much lower because if you look at our 5th grade numbers, we actually reduced the class size at Abram Lansing this year. Our 5th grade numbers at Harmony are very small. The reason we didn't reduce the class size there is there are large numbers of ENL and student with disabilities, but our numbers. So what we would look at is this is potentially a 1 year. We do know that the bubble continues into upper grades. There's also some more scheduling variability in those grades. Right now, the proposal is 1 year. We would look at it in the future. I think because it would be an elementary certified teacher, it's more realistic. We would like somebody who could do math and science, but they do not have to have math and science certification. Posting takes 5 days. But elementary, it's still difficult, as the principals can attest, but there is a bigger pool elementary level, so we're hopeful.
Will we run into any building space with this proposal or?
So, do you want to talk?
Oh, no,
I think yes.
I don't think my face sometimes, can't control my face. Yeah, there'll be some growing pains, but I think putting the right people in the room, that they could figure it out. And I think the benefit to lowering some class sizes for middle school kids, even if it's for 1 year, and that's most likely what it would be, we'd have to decide if that, you need another person in 7th grade, if that cohort stays with us. But it could be done. It'll just be a little bit of work with hopefully a nice path.
Yeah, so the middle school has proposed some potential room changes to be determined, but they are looking at some plans. And then, of course, it's notifying families that it does mean some changes, which, but as long as we can also share the benefits of those changes, so.
And the middle school is really good about thoughtful mixes of kids, changing schedules and making sure things are balanced. And we'll do a nice job at that.
So can I just ask, so this bringing the class size down to 22.5, that's less than 2 kindergarten teachers, 5-year-olds up at Harmony Hill. Like there's classes in the elementary school that are upwards in 23, 24 with kids. I'm not saying that I disagree with the need in 6th grade. These are large class sizes. And if it is a tough grade where we've got some populations that need to be addressed, I just worry that, we're not addressing 23 5-year-olds in class. And we've seen that smaller class sizes at the younger levels are, it's better for kids to be in smaller class sizes at the younger grades. And I'm just looking at Harmony Hill specifically has, 23s in kindergarten and 24s in 4th grade. So, if we're talking class sizes, I know that we brought that up before because there's such lower numbers in the 5th grade at Harmony. I think 8 and 9-year-olds are a little easier to kind of manage than 5-year-olds. So I do have a concern that there's that many kids in that cohort of kids. And that we're not addressing that. I know that it's a separate issue and this is 6th grade and this is specific, but I feel like the discussion has to be had for both because not advocating for any teacher. I'm just saying, like, if we're considering the fact that numbers are high, we should still be having that conversation. It's been brought up. And I don't know how we've addressed it, whether it's additional people. You can speak. Sorry, I'm not trying to. I want to make sure I say what I need to say.
That's fine, and I thought that might come up, so I don't know if anybody, I know I sent these to you, if you want a hard copy, I have. So first of all, although it says, an average of 22.5, what I'd like to get to you, and again, this is after, okay, who goes here, who goes there, what that means in terms of lowest class size and highest class size at the middle school. So I did, so you're correct at Harmony Hill, the kindergarten classes are 21, 23, 23, and at 5th grade, they're 14, 13, and 5.
With 6 ENLs and 4 ENLs in kindergarten.
So there are 6 and 4 ENLs in kindergarten and 1 student with an IEP, and right now there's sorry, I need to take those 8, I have to take this, there's 4 ENLs, there's 7 students with special needs. So we did have the conversation of potentially moving, it doesn't really work that way, but a 5th grade spot to a kindergarten spot. Never quite sure where kindergartners are going to be. This did come up during budget time, so it would be separate apart from hiring someone in addition for the school because there's some variability within sizes, but in discussions with Mr. Perry and because of the needs, and I know those numbers, but I'm not sure, looking at this, who are beginners, who are, the number of services, so we can get that to that fine-tuned level of information. But in looking at the needs, there is something else that has been implemented in Harmony Health for kindergarten, first and fourth grade, and it's called Learning Labs. I promised I wouldn't use the word win because it's not the same as the WIN group at Abram Manson, but for those 3 grades, it's periods of time where all staff, additional staff, not all staff, come together and work in small groups, and it's called Learning Lab. So I know that's one of the ways that, Harmony has tried to address some of the needs, but I think it's some additional data and share it for the future.
Yeah, I think, for us, we're presented with this very black and white picture, which, again, I know what a 5-year-old looks like, and 23 of them in the same room feels like we should pay attention to rather than 23. Let's see how 23 sixth graders, and I get the makeup and that this is every class.
It's just there, I mean, if we had discussions with Harmony, like from within, because of this is an additional. So we'll continue. I'd like to have an opportunity to work with Mr. Perry to really fine tune the needs, to provide you more information about building labs.
Also, I'm not telling him how to run his building. I'm just saying, like, we've got presented with numbers, and that's what.
But just, this is an additional staff, like hiring of a new person. So,
Well, I do have to say, I have heard a lot about the 6th grade currently at the school. Not very good things. So I'm hoping that an additional teacher might enforce a little bit more structure in some of the students that are in that class, because I have been hearing a lot about the 6th grade.
we have a lot of really, really good 6th grade.
We have a really, really lot of good 6th graders, but that, people don't come to talk to me about that. But good things coming out of the middle school and stuff like that, but I have heard that the 6th grade is kind of over.
And I think the 5th, the elementary principals would agree from last year.
Absolutely. I think every one of them was.
Or Mr. Duro is strong.
I have a 6th grader, yeah, and if my kids, they usually don't say anything, and they, like Scarlett has mentioned, and not that she's complaining, but, yeah, it sounds like an extra teacher would serve a major purpose for that 6th grade anyway, I don't know. And I know that maybe it'll change in 7th, because now that's a different, it's not an elementary education spot, but, for this year, I think that would benefit a ton.
Just at the age, the transition into a brand new school with a whole bunch of new kids that you haven't met before, it's a tough switch.
What's the difference in like population for the 6th grade, even like projected next year, or what was it last year? Is it always kind of at that verge of hitting these numbers?
This is every once in a while, we have a what was in the water so many years ago kind of moment. We typically, historically, we've done class sizes of 137 to 146.
Right.
Once in a while, it get crazy, we'd have 155. So this is a little bit of a surge, but we do try to keep our eye on, again, the current 5th grade is lower.
Right.
And the 4th grade too. And we just never know always who's going to move in. So we just have to be on a swivel a little bit, but we do try to plan. And we do try to look both back and ahead and, do the best we can with that.
Just off the top, this year at Abram Lansing, there are 3 5th graders, and there was a reduction of a 5th grade teacher because that wasn't needed, but still 53 leads to pretty low class sizes.
Sure.
For 5th grade, 19, 16.
And the high school has more students now than we've ever had. It's.
And so Harmony is the 5th grade class we're talking about. And Van Skyke, and remember, Van Skyke only has one grade per class, and there are times that their numbers have been up, 23, 24, 25, maybe even a little higher at times with only one teacher. But in fifth grade, this year, they're all they're below 20. In fifth grade, there is 19. So even with an influx of students, our numbers from internally are pretty low for next year. So what we would do is, during budget season, we would look at how those sixth grade would fit into seventh grade. We would work with Mr. McFarland and Miss Kelly on how that would schedule out and then determine, and then in seventh grade though, then it becomes different content area teachers, not just one teacher who can kind of solve the problem. So thank you. So we will post for a position grant funded for this year. I know, Stacy, you have to sit down and look through all of our ARPs and do amendments and things like that. And then make that as part of the budget process. And more information to follow. That's all I have. Stacy, do you have anything?
No, nothing? Can I ask you something?
Yes, of course.
So as we get into October, closer to the general election, there's a constitutional amendment that's going to be out there in the world that directly impacts the borrowing for small city school districts. Can we maybe have a really brief conversation, a little overview, maybe sometime in October? Because it's kind of a big deal. Thank you.
So raising the debt ceiling, when that discussion. Communication.
That would be great. Thank you. All right, moving on. Does the board have any discussion on agenda items tonight? No. Any discussion from community members or guests about items that are on the agenda? Or business? With that, can we get a designation? Can I have a motion to adopt the following resolution of the September 27th, 2020 agenda? Items 6A through F, 7A through N, and 9F.
Second it.
Mrs. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Gendron?
Yes.
Ms. Paredes?
Yes.
Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Giller?
Yes.
So I just wanted to, Mrs. Giller reminded me that it's kind of an interesting item on the agenda. We're accepting resignation of a teacher, but that doesn't take effect until the end of October. Mr. Smith will be leaving us, but we did appoint him on the addendum as a club advisor. There'll be some overlap before he leaves us, and that will be amended when we get a meeting. So it's not, we're not ignoring the process. Any comments from board members on any other items?
I just wanted to really just say thank you to all of our administrators and our athletic director. I was at a lot of homecoming events this last week and it was really fun. And it just felt like things were back to normal and it was starting to more be like the city center is the school district and our kids are getting so many people involved. And like, it just was really great to see. And the participation was amazing. I mean, I saw people there that had no affiliation with the school, had nothing to do with having a student here or haven't had one here in years. And yet they were still there supporting, and just kudos to the booster clubs because they just really went out and decorated and they just did a great job. And the inclusivity of our younger programs was just so awesome to see. The young kids from soccer and from football and from cheer, just being out there on the big field, participating. So just thank you so much for everybody that was involved in supporting homecoming and the events that led up to the week. And I know that it's a lot of work for you guys, and it just doesn't go unappreciated. So thank you.
I second. Any comments or questions from anyone in the audience tonight on anything?
Come up and stand up here.
So before you start, welcome, first of all. I just wanted to remind everyone here that comments are guided by board policy, which you can find online. It's policy 1230. I just wanted to sort of hit the highlights for you, because I know that this is the first time joining us, right?
Yes.
I haven't seen you. So before you speak, I would ask you to state your name and your address for the record. And I'd just like to remind you that speakers are limited to 3 minutes, so we'll ask Mrs. Ramsey to be the timekeeper. And the policy is that questions and comments are all appreciated and taken under consideration. We can't necessarily answer you, but if you have materials you'd like to leave, someone will get back to you, a board member, a staff member.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Joe Whitehead. I actually live in Rotterdam. I'm not a resident of this district. I'm here on behalf of my grandson tonight. I wanted to share with you a letter of concern that his mother presented to the school about the meningococcal vaccination. I am aware that the New York State law requires vaccination in order to attend public school. I am also aware of exemptions made based on certain conditions written by primary caregivers. I would also like to make you aware that my son's father was vaccine injured by this particular shot, and I have a problem with that. 2 days after receiving the meningococcal shot, at age 15, his father experienced his first grand mal seizure and has continued to battle epilepsy ever since that day. Unlike most Americans, I'm also aware of my rights. The American government, as well as the Congress, are a corporation, meaning that legislation is not a law. Executive orders are not a law. Any decree written by politicians or bureaucrats is not a law, as they are not capable of writing laws. As this makes you their would-be enforcer of such a law, you are required to show me a contract written where I agree to it. Otherwise, I'm referring to the Universal Declaration of Bioethics and Human Rights, which states in Article 6, any preventative, diagnostic, or therapeutic medical intervention is only to be carried out with the prior free and informed consent of the person concerned, based on adequate information. The consult should, where appropriate, be expressed and may be withdrawn by the person concerned at any time for any reason without disadvantage or prejudice. As his parent, my son does not have my consent for this vaccine. This is my absolute and inalienable right as his parent. This is also spelled out in the Syracuse Principles, paragraph 58, which states, these rights are not derogable under any conditions, even for the asserted purpose of preserving the life of the nation. The Hippocratic Law states that anyone demanding medical status is in violation of the law as well as the Constitution. I think that's probably enough of this. What she referenced were some international protections. The school's response basically said that they are following the laws and they don't recognize her right as a parent to deny particular vaccination. This letter could serve as an exemption based on the request. She shouldn't need to have to get a medical exemption from a doctor. We have the right to say no in this country, and that is your exemption. It always has been and it always will be. These are some scary times that we're in right now with some of the things that are happening. And I understand the response from the letter. I'm almost.
You have just a few minutes.
Finish your thought. You should finish your thought.
I just think that at some point this comes to a moral issue, and people won't say, I'm doing my job, I'm following the law, until you're standing over the top of a 7th grader with his eyes rolled back in his head, having a seizure on the floor. Nobody's gonna stand there proud and say, I did my job. I don't know if this is something that needs to progress further into a court situation. I just thought it would be good to let the rest of the school board be aware of the situation and some other parents, because there's, we've just gone through some of these things with this medical stuff, and I got a feeling there's more on the way. And it's up to us to stand up for these kids. We can't all just say, these are the rules, do this, do this, do this. I mean, somebody has to protect the rights of their children.
Sir, thank you very much. Is that something that you wanted to leave with us?
You want me to put?
Yeah, I can leave a copy.
Great. Thank you very much for coming. Somebody use your contact information on there? Do we have it at school? Perfect, thank you. Anyone else? No policies for review tonight. Dates for future meetings, October 11th and October 25th, here at 6 p.m. If we could please get a motion to enter into executive session at 7:02 p.m. to discuss negotiations with CSEA, CTA, and superintendent schools.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Perfect.
Mrs. Carey.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Snyder. Mrs. Gendron.
Yes.
Ms. Paradis.
Yes.
Mr. DeRose.
Yes.
Giller.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming.